One of the most difficult things about what I do, I travel a lot, I know a lot of people. I've got friends on all different sides of the spectrum, you name it, politically, religiously, what kind of families they have. One thing I've always found over the years, though, if you get down to just a human level, like we're breaking bread together, we're eating, we've got a lot more in common than we have apart. And the further away you get from that, the more divided and different we seem. So I'm trying to always focus on that connection, the communication. That's why I talk about it so much. I've thought about that same concept over the last couple of days with all just the horrible things that have been going on. The school shootings. And what's horrible about it is not just what happens, it's how people react to it. And you got people screaming, I love what the government's doing. And you have other people screaming, how can you support what the government's doing? You're horrible. And you got people screaming about, this happened for this reason and this happened for that reason. And through all of that, I still keep coming back to we're disconnected. And I also come back to something I talked about the other day about Viktor Frankl, the purpose of identity. One thing that is fortunate in a horrible situation is two of the recent shootings, I say recent over the last couple of years, the one in Nashville and the one that just happened, the shooters left notebooks, left diaries. The one in Minnesota we were able to see right away, the one in Nashville took a while. And I read through them. I actually sat there and I read through them, and I wasn't doing it in a voyeuristic way. I wasn't doing it in a finger pointing way. I just wanted to know, what were these kids, these young men and women thinking? And something that just leaps out at me when you read them is a search for who am I? A search for identity. There was also almost like a childlike nature to them. The one that just happened in Minnesota, there's one page and he draws himself looking in a mirror and he sees this demon. And even looking past just like the evil nature of that, it's almost like a cartoon. It's almost like that's where his head was. Like, I want my life to be a cartoon. And I think sometimes when we get disconnected from people, and we live in our own head, life kind of becomes that way. And it could be that way for any of us. We make other people cartoons. We make people that we don't believe and agree the same things that they do. We make them into cartoons. And the further we move away from each other, the more difficult it gets. And so what do you do to bring that back? And I think what's missing more than anything is sitting down and talking and communicating. A friend of mine, very successful, one of the most successful people I personally know, and had a very successful life and career. And I asked him once, and I said, what do you think's the secret to your success? And I was honestly looking for more of a business answer. What's the business secrets? What did you do to make all this money? And he's a very thoughtful guy, and he thought about it for a minute, and he said, communicating. You can't communicate too much. You can't talk too much. You can't know people too well. That's the key to success. And that was at the end of a long trip I'd been on, so I had a long trip home, and flying back from there, I thought about that a lot. I'm like, man, he's right. It's communicating. And it could be with your children. It could be with the one you love. It could be with your friends. It could be with strangers. We suck at it. I mean, how often do we just have a conversation in a grocery store with a stranger anymore? Or I remember, 10 years ago when I would fly, I'd be in an airport, I'd get in a conversation with somebody. Now, no one does. You sit there and everybody's on their phone or on their earbuds and nobody's talking, you don't know anybody. And I think what happens, the world in a way kind of becomes a cartoon to us. Just like that young confused man who just tried to kill a bunch of kids. His life became like a cartoon, but sadly it's not a cartoon. What he did is real. The impact of us not communicating, not talking, not knowing each other is real. I was told this story once by a priest that always stuck with me. And he talked about what happened if with the people you care about, you don't communicate, you don't talk about where do we want to go. And it's kind of like this. You're with a group of people and you're in the desert and you're going to die if you don't get out of the desert. And off in the distance, you see this mountain. And everybody agrees and everybody is unified and everybody's drawn together. We're going to make it to that mountain. And so initially, life's real simple. Life is stripped down. You're taking steps towards that mountain and everybody's together. Now, what you don't realize is happening because you're so tired, you're so worn down, you're not really talking about it, is that mountain is really part of a mountain range. And the closer you get to it, I'm looking at the mountain there in the middle, and you're looking at the mountain over there on the right, and I'm looking at that valley that I might want to walk through and see what happens there. And so even though we're kind of feel like we're moving in the same direction, very subtly, if you don't talk about it, you won't see it. We're kind of going in different directions. And then you go on a while, and then you get close, and then you get to that point where, one person kind of wants to go this way, and one person kind of wants to go this way, and you kind of start arguing, you start getting bothered. Why do they keep going over there? Hey, come over here. And then if you don't communicate and you don't talk, well, that end up with a fight. I thought we were going to that mountain. You see it in marriage all the time. I thought life meant this. I thought raising kids meant this. You see it in old friends arguing about politics or religion. Well, I thought we agreed on this. I thought when you said that, you meant this. Nothing replaces a human being communicating with another human being. Nothing. Nothing. Not a tweet, not a manifesto you write, not anger, nothing. Now, there's not much we're going to do to make somebody 1,000 miles away communicate with us. But here's where you start. You know where you start? You start at home. You start with your friends. You start around the dinner table. You make them close. You make them understand. We can differ on a whole bunch of beliefs, but our identity has got to be in each other. Our identity has got to be in this family. Our identity has got to be in this local community. If we don't start there, all we do is fracture. All we do is point fingers. All we end up doing is having some people hate, and they hate other people. But if you want to counteract that, if you want to steer in another direction, it starts with the people right there. Challenge for you tonight, have a long conversation with somebody. I don't care where it's at. I don't care if it's at the dinner table. I don't care if it's some random stranger you see in a coffee shop. I don't care if it's at work and you just take a minute and make the point of the conversation not to be right, not to get them to believe what you believe, but just listen. Maybe talk about some unimportant things. Just talk, just communicate, just be present. That's where you start. Because if you can't do that, quit your complaining, quit your bitching, quit your finger pointing, quit your flaming on the internet. If we can't communicate with each other, we should just shut up. Let's talk, let's be friends, keep coming back. I'm still on. Peace.